ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We're doing another speaker comparison. This time we're doing the top of the line 15 series. I have the DOS Vantic 15A, which is directly behind me. Next to it we have the JBL SRX 15P. Next to that one we have the QSC KW152. And last but not least, the Turbosound IQ15. All right, so we're going to be testing them all at a decibel range between 85 and 90 dBs. They've all been checked equally, so we're ready to go. We'll give you the results shortly and hope to see you guys soon. All right, here we go. You're on.
What up, people? DJ Hurricane Ray here. We're gonna run one by one each speaker, all the features that it has, and then some. These guys, for the four that you know, if you look up all their specs, they are just absolutely full of stuff. They're not a one-trick pony like some of these speakers are. Example, the Turbosound. First and foremost, Bluetooth. You can go directly to the app, the Turbosound app. You can control them through the Bluetooth Turbosound app if you want. If you want to make it more user-friendly for you, instead of having to go to the speaker, you can already preset the exact system you want. Example, if you're out in a wedding in a particular venue, like over here, there's certain hotspots and venues. You go there, you figured it out, it works beautifully for you. All you got to do is go into your app, that's the venue name. You have everything set up, all you do is plug and play. That's an awesome feature. It's not the only one that does it, but it's one of them that does do it. Also, you have 2 channels. Both of them running through XLR. Interesting part about it, it does have the Ultranet. It does give you a little bit more leeway if you want to plug everything through the computer and handle everything through the computer. Pretty neat feature. I don't know how I feel about that, because honestly, I already have my hands full trying to mix and the lights and all that stuff, so adding one more thing. But it is available for those who love to multitask and have 3 hands. One cool feature that I didn't notice right away is the AC input. They don't have it normal IEC. They have it speak on type connection, which is pretty cool. All right, but it also means if you lose it, you're going to be paying a pretty penny. So don't lose the connection. But they also have an output as well. So you can plug one in, you can plug one out, you can daisy chain them. I believe the daisy chain's up to 12, if I'm not wrong. We'll sort that out. We'll probably leave a comment later on just in case we're wrong. Going to the QSC, the KW152. Again, very similar to the K12s. Pretty much all QSCs have the same style lineup. You have XLR in and out. You also have that they can go 1/4 inch, which also the Turbosound can do, by the way. All of them actually can do it now. They're multi-connectors. But you also have a separate channel, channel B, which has the iPod connector, as we like to call it, or the RCA connection. Other than that, it's pretty standard. The EQ here is pretty self-explanatory. It is not digital. The EQ, the one thing I did not mention on the Turbosound, the EQ is digital as well. You can go into here and just start popping up, and it gives you the access to all the EQs. That's if you don't want to do it through the computer or through the app. You can manually do it. So you do not need the app to actually handle it. You cannot preset it. Yes, you can preset it here, but you cannot set up the names for it. That's where the app would come into great feature. Because if you have the name of the venue, you put the app on, done deal. Let's move on to the third one. Another one that uses an app is the JBL. I believe this is the SRX 815. Pretty nifty little boy. Doesn't weigh that much. By the way, the weight, we'll explain it in a little bit. Again, digital crossover style. Sure, you tap into it. Yeah, you got it.
Trying to. The sun is being. There we go.
Has pretty much the same features as most of the standard crossovers, with the exception of the network menu. On this one, on this particular model that they have, it does not get controlled by Bluetooth. You have to plug it in through the network link, which I believe is a Cat 5, right, Willie?
Yes, correct.
Yep. You have to go in through Cat 5 in order to be able to access the multiple of features. Now, we don't have a Cat 5, but we're going to do as much as we can with the built-in crossover. Remember, all of these speakers, we're going to be doing them at 0 dBs. No gains, no nothing. It's just 0 dBs, and then we're going to adjust it to the way we would like it to sound. As is, when we're playing around with it, man, it's awesome. any of these speakers. They are absolutely awesome. Last but not least, at popular request by so many DJs, we brought the DAWs. Now, with that saying...
Wait, hold on. He's wearing the Sherwin Vega. Here you go. DAWs. We're wearing the DAWs hat. By the way, thank you, DAWs, for supporting us and lending us the speakers.
The special shout out goes to Edwin. Edwin, thank you very much for lending us this one and the other speaker, which we'll be also doing a broadcast on. The DAWs, very similar to Turbosound in the aspect that you can control either through the electrical the crossover built in here, or you can do it on the app. I did fool around with the app. The app is called DAS Link, DAS Link. If you want to upload it now, go for it. You can't really play with it until you get the speaker. But nonetheless, it's a pretty cool app. Very similar layout to most of the ones that have the crossovers. You can actually, preset it. You can maneuver it. You can play with it. You can do pretty much anything you want with it. And yeah, you can link up to 2 speakers at a time with it. You don't have to daisy chain one off of the other. That's a cool feature. All of them have the outs. If you notice here, it has an out. All of them have an out. Now this one only has it for one channel. This one has it for each channel. And also the QSC has it one for each or one for both. That's a nifty feature. Not many companies have a tendency of doing that, with the exception of, actually both of them do. I just noticed it on the Turbosound too. You can either go channel A, channel B, or if you want to go A, B both, you can go out. And that one has it too, which is output A, output B, or the mix out. One of the last things that we wanted to note was the actual aux in. On the QSC, you guys noticed that it was the actual RCAs. Here, they have a straight 1/8 inch plug, which makes it even easier for some of us that already have that car plug that plug into the you can plug in your iPod and plug it in directly to your radio, your head units. You have that plug, you're good to go. Other than that, this one's 1500 watts. This one was what, Willie?
This one is 2000 watts, I believe.
All right. The QSC is 2000 and the Turbosound is 2500. All of these rated are maximum power. We all know that maximum doesn't mean anything. RMS is where it's at. RMS, they're all ranging between 600 to 700. That's why we chose these 4 to be part of the show today. Nothing. Let's just get going with the show.
Fans. And our special guest, Mike.
That's right. How can I be so rude? Our special
guest. He just brought up fans, cooling systems.
All of them have fans. The way they work, basically all of these are Class D amps, which also makes a big difference. For those who don't know the difference between amps, Class D amps are meant to run hard, are meant to run hot. That's why they put them there. They try to confine as much space as they can, putting probably the best type of amplifier for the purpose. Now, don't get me wrong. You beat it with the sun too much, it will go. That's anything. That's any electronics.
And as you can see Ray's face, he's sweating out here. It is hot as hell.
It's a cold October day. I keep telling myself it's cold. It's cold. Apparently, it ain't working, man. Woo! No, all of them had their fans. The QSC's fan was just going off now. Turbosound fan is on. The JBL, from what I understand, has heat sink. It does not have a fan, which is the same thing as the DAWs. Yeah. I'm gonna look into it and I'll post it if I'm incorrect. But I know these are heat sinks. Difference between heat sinks and fans, I'm a big fan of heat sinks. Fans can go. Fans die out. And once they die out, you can tell because your speaker quality starts really suffering. Heat sinks, they just suck in all the heat and the heat and the heat. Problem is, with the heat sinks, the only minor problem that I've had with some of those that have heat sinks, when you start picking them up and they rub your arm, you're gonna be in a great deal of pain because they get really hot. But nonetheless, you can't go wrong with either or. Personal preference, of course. I like the heat sinks. This one actually has the gap. I believe if you take this out, you're gonna see like a little hole in here where the speaker can actually breathe. I mean, the amplifier can actually breathe. Actually, I don't know if you're able to see it through here. You can see all the mechanisms from the amp here and here. Most of these
too dark in there. We can't see anything.
Most of them, they have a push-pull system. Every time they're sucking in, they're blowing air. Coming out, it blows out. It's a nice little mechanism that JBL has. I believe, I forgot what the other company was that does it too. but that's an older style actually of cooling way. But it's a more common way and it's a smarter way. They save themselves some money rather than putting heat sinks or rather than putting fans. But either way, man, I can't wait to hear all of these. I can't wait to give you results because it's going to be a good one, guys. Stay tuned.
All right, guys and girls, we're getting ready to start. I'm going to give you the order that we're starting in, just so you guys know. First up will be the DAWs, followed up by the JBL, then the QSC, and last but not least, the Turbosound. All right, here we go. Again, we're starting with the DAWs. Willie, hit it up. Oh. Okay, here we go. DAWs on. JBL. So from back here, well, from where I was at least, they all sounded the same, to be quite honest with you. Pretty impressed with the DAWs. It sounded good. So did the Turbosound. I think they all sounded equal to me, at least. Let's get the rest of the guys' opinions. From back here, Willie, what'd you think?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like I found a very good balance between mids, lows, and highs, and very good volume too. I think they all sound pretty much the same to me. So I'll have to go take a second listen, but they all sound very, very, very similar.
All right, so let's go. Ray and Mike were a little further back. Let's start with Ray, because he has his critique face on.
Oh yeah. Honestly, at least the 0 dBs with no gains, no nothing, I'm not impressed by the Turbosound. To me, the
Felix not gonna be happy.
Sorry, Century Village, man. But again, one thing is a 0 dBs, and we all know that a 0 dBs is not the same as adjusting it to when you're gonna do it to your liking at a venue. At 0 dBs, I was not impressed by Turbosound. QSC never disappoints with the bass. Was a little bit low on the highs. JBL was probably the best response in bass at 0 dBs, no doubt about it. I think all of us popped our eyes when we heard but it's also a little bit lower volume on the treble side or on the highs. DAWs to me was pretty much the overall a more complete sound. It had enough highs and it had enough bass. Again, JBL beat it in bass at 0 dB. We're gonna be adjusting it and showing it a little bit later. But the overall sound, I'm impressed. I gotta go with DAWs.
Mike?
Yeah, I totally agree with Ray. I didn't see any difference at all between the JBL and the QSC. They're both, to me, neck and neck. Bass-wise, I think the least favorite was the Turbosound. But as far as the QSC, the JBL, they were both hand in hand. And the DAWs, I think, same thing as Ray said earlier. The overall was great on the DAWs.
All right, just so you know how far I was literally maybe about 5 feet away from the speaker, where Willie was maybe about 15 and Ray and Mike were maybe about 20 feet away from the speakers. So at a close range, to me, they all sounded the same. DAWs, JBL, QSC, and Turbosound. And it's like everything. The further away you get, the different the sound is. We had a different perspective from Willie. Willie thought that it sounded the same. But as we got further back, Ray and Mike agreed. You know, Turbosound was not all together there yet right now, and the DAWs by far beat out all three of them. So now we're going to take 5 minutes to put the settings on the back, get it to club mode, how we would use it at a party, and we'll check in with you in
I wanted to go over, as we're going to start preparing now, like if we were in a club or like a party, a wedding, birthday, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to do. Here is the EQ. I'm going to set this one up As you can tell, it has user, playback, speech, live. Live is the common setup for the DJs. So we're gonna set this one live. We still haven't touched the dBs or anything like that. We're just going exactly from what the crossover is from here. On the QSCs, we're just gonna go deep and put the vocal up, which is pretty much a live performance. On the JBL, we're gonna look in here, see what we can do.
El platiquito ese me da glare.
Ah,
Okay. No.
no, on here you have to have the preset done. No, there you go, I found it. All right, so you have main, you have monitor, speech, sub with the hertz cutting or different presets, but these haven't been preset yet because no one's plugged it into the computer. So we're gonna go with main for now as the source. Here is where it gets, can you get it?
Yeah.
Again, we're not using the app, but the app's actually more useful than this. You notice this has a bunch of presets. It has a live preset, dance, vocals, bass boost, and monitor. We're gonna go with bass boost just because most of these other ones, when you boost them, they do boost bass. So we're gonna go head to head, neck to neck, all of them, back to back to back to back. This is what you guys want to hear. This is what's gonna be happening. Get ready because we're gonna have a lot of fun.
All
now.
right, so here we go. Party style, everything's good to go. Here we go with the DAWs. All right, well, my opinion, I was like 5 feet away. Believe it or not, I'm gonna have to go with DAWs. To me, the bass on the Turbosound sounded like it was being pushed too hard. Just didn't sound good. The QSC, it's all right. Wasn't too impressed with it. The JBL did sound very well, but I'm gonna have to go with DAWs. I don't know. How about over here, Willie?
Okay, for me, it's gonna be in this order. Definitely DAS number 1, JBL number 2, and between the QSC and the Turbosound, I found the QSC a little in the highs. They were a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say distorted yet, but not as crisp or clear as the others. So I guess number 3 I will have to choose. See, I'm really in between the Turbosound and the QSC because, like, if I can combine them, I can get number 3. Because the bass on the QSC was very good, but then the highs on the Turbosound were better than the ones on the QSC. So I'm really undecided on number 3 and 4.
But definitely DAWs took.
That's number 1, I would say.
All right, that was Willie from 20 feet away, or 15 feet away. Let's talk to Ray, a little further, 25 feet. I can see he has that face on again. So here we go. Get ready, everybody.
I hate to say it, but I'm still not impressed by Turbosound.
Uh-oh.
I'm not. When we did crank it up, you could tell the bass was a little distorting. And basically, we're 25 feet away. Yeah, the crowd is not going to be that far, but you can't have the crowd that close either and have the speaker already distorting. Yes, you can make minor adjustments to it like any speaker, but again, we're going based on the crossover that's built in. Basing it on the crossover that's built in, Turbosound is 4th. QSC. Everyone and their mother knows that the K12 is probably the best 12-inch, hands down. I don't think there's any question about it when it comes to the bass response. But QSC's always lack something, which is the highs. In this one, with the vocal boost, I think they went a little too high. They were sounding like, every once in a blue moon sounded like a tin can. I don't know, DJs would know what that means. The bass response was good, was solid, but not comparable to the JBL. JBL overall, out of 4 of them, still at boosted gains or adjusted gains, still has the best bass out of all of them, hands down. The JBL though was still mid-range to my liking for the highs, meaning you could tell that they developed, and typical JBL, by the way, for those who don't know what JBL system, they always push more bass and they always hold back on the highs, so you got to adjust the highs there. But based on overall crossover quality, meaning the crossover built in, the quality, I gotta go with DAWs. I gotta go with DAWs as number 1. They gave me the overall performance, and I still feel we can crank it even higher. It gave us like, okay, crank me more, crank me more, crank me more. By the way, same thing JBL. JBL gives you that same sensation when you're in front of them. That's why all of us here were arguing, all right, is it gonna be turbo? I mean, is it gonna be JBL or is it gonna be DAWs? JBL or DAWs? Simply because you could feel that, okay, they want more, crank me up. And as a DJ, you love that. You love the fact that you want a speaker that can respond when you need it. But for me, if choosing, I choose DAWs.
And now our guest DJ, Mike.
Yeah, same here. When it comes to bass, I think the JBL's got them all beat. However, when it comes to highs, I think they're dead last. Overall, I still say the DAWs, my first choice. Second would be QSC. Third would be Turbosound, only because of their highs, and JBL dead last because the highs, to me, they won with the bass. The highs were dead last. So I think overall, still the DAWs Auto or DAWs, and yeah, that's it.
All right, so as I flip it around and give it to Ray, overall, DAWs won. I think we had more people shooting for the JBL as second, QSC as third, and Turbosound dead last. That I think it's safe to say that in that order, that's the best choice. The DAWs would be the way to go. It just, like Ray said, it feels like you could give it so much more. And the other ones, the Turbosound really felt like if you gave it any more, the woofer was gonna pop out of the case. So yeah, so now we're gonna change things up and we'll see you in a few.
Okay, I think that the IQ on the Turbosound needs actually manual tweaking in order to get the most out of it. I would say the most quality and the better frequencies out of it. With the menu, or I would say the options that come as factory settings, I think they fall short. But you do have to actually know what you're doing in adjusting your frequencies and your levels to get the most out of them. I've heard them in speech, like for conferences. They sound amazing. Now, I've used them also for parties, but only with the presets, and I'm not really too much impressed with them. I've played on the QSC, and I think with a sub they've been very good, and of course the SRX, I've used them without subs and they have really delivered. But I do run them all the way open, not at Unity, and I do all my adjusting on the mixer. But I would say that.
So you use an external mixer to adjust it then?
Yeah, because like that I can manipulate the frequencies and
okay.
Whatever is lacking, like Michael said, and the highs and mids, I can boost them up, and they do sound very well.
How familiar are you with any of the apps like the JBL or the Turbosound or DAWs?
I'm more familiarized with the PRX app,
Okay.
which is the other model from the JBL. But with this one, I've never even seen it for the JBL. Actually, none of them. The only app that I've tried is the one for the PRX. And the one thing that I like about them is that I set them up and they stays in the memory. So once you set them up, you can just disconnect, and that's how I'm using my PRX 12s, and they work very well so far. I actually did an event, like about 80 people, no subs, and only with them, and I was very happy. with the response. I mean, you can use a sub, of course, but it was really good.
Always helpful for your bass head.
The Turbosound, as far as the Turbosound apps are concerned, I mean, I have the line arrays. I have the IP3000.
Don't call it line array.
Sorry, okay, column array. Is that better?
We don't want to get somebody into trouble. Continue.
Okay, anyway. So yes, there is a difference in sound with and without the app use. It sounds better with the app. You have more control of it with the app. You could pretty much, if you're in the middle of a wedding, the groom's coming up to give his toast, you know, you get on your app and you put it into vocal mode. So you take away the music and the vocal shines more. I'm sure you could do the same thing with, you know, your soundboard, but you got to make adjustments where here it's just one button and push and that's it. So yes, the apps do make a difference on all of them. Again, we're not running the apps on any of them. This is just based on what's built in. So it's on hardware only, no software applications. Okay? Cool.
One last detail, of course. Like Eddie mentioned, we're not running any of the apps. I can personally tell you, I've played with the DAWs and I played with the Turbosound app. Very user-friendly. To the point that, man, it really isn't that difficult to understand it, but you got to dig in and play with it. There's no second way around it. The convenience of it, yes. You can program it to certain venues, you can program it to certain modes, one touch button, everything is right here rather than fooling around with the speaker. All via Bluetooth connection. The comparison that we did, Eddie mentioned it. We're just doing it based on what they have already preset, which most of the times we see it, oh, it's live, guys giving a speech, oh, speech, boom, and that's it. Now, I'm with Willie in the aspect I like to control it myself. Now, with all that said, here is one minor note. Turbosound could sound better, but it already has the presets. DAWs already sounds good. Now imagine if you get to tweak it even more. That's one thing we got. That's one thing we got to take in consideration. And even at that, I'll say the same thing about JBL. We were able to plug in the Cat 5 and go directly and tweak it that much more. Again, I'm impressed by both of them simply because they felt like they wanted more. QSC, unfortunately, technology has stayed behind them. I'm hoping they come out pretty soon with it. I think they brought it out already, the 15.2, or they're about to, where they have to upgrade. You know, every company is going crossover digital. They have to, simply because a lot of people like more connectivities. They like to be able to adjust it. You know, you got the ADD people now, or I'm sorry, the ADHD, that love to have to do 3 things at one time. And it's perfect for this generation. For me, I'll stick with the basics. You know, I like being able to preset it, and that's it. And if anything, I just make the adjustment there. Now, up next, we're gonna have the comparison between Cerwin Vega, the DAWs, the ELX from EV, and Samsung. So stick around. You're gonna see that one the next show.
Mike, anything you want to add before we close this segment?
So far, so good.
Last
All right.
tidbit that we wanted to bring up is the speaker covers. We're going to focus on them. All the speaker companies have their own. DAWs has one specifically made for the model that we're doing, and has it for the other one, which is a Vantic as well. JBL, pretty standard. They have for most of their speakers except the lower end, but I don't think now they consider anything lower end. QSC, same story. You can go to QSC and buy them. And Turbosound also has theirs. One thing we did notice, most of them are very tight fit, meaning they're pretty precise to the point of the speaker, to the specs of the speaker. There is nothing gonna be loose. You don't have much of a hassle problem with it. Same thing with the QSC. QSC though, I like the fact that it has a pocket. You actually get to put your IECs or your XLRs or 1/4 inch, depending on what you want to connect. Nothing wrong with it. JBL has the pocket on the side, so you can carry it in 3 different ways, but no spot to put the cables in. And does have a pocket back here where you can put their connection in as well. Well, whatever you connect along with the IEC. Again, all of them are pretty well tight, so it's worth buying the directly from manufacturer versus the aftermarket. Yes, aftermarket, you're gonna find it cheaper, but aftermarket, you always have a little loose here and there. It is what it is. So when you do that, you know, keep that in mind. when you make the investment, you might want to think about getting the cover as well. I was one of them at the beginning that I didn't buy a cover, and I went through about 3 different speakers until I learned my lesson. And well, now my QSE has the cover simply because of that. I didn't spend $1,200 on each speaker to have it destroyed in 3 days or in 3 travels.
So let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
I know that the Turbosound, because I own the Turbosound, the covers are waterproof, meaning if it gets wet, not an issue. How about the rest of the covers? Do we know?
All of them.
All of them?
All of them are waterproof. They do dry up pretty fast. The only thing is, do not play with them on, because I want to make that point crystal clear, because I did go to a park once and I saw one guy, I guess it was a cloudy day and it was misty a little, and he decided that he was going to play with them on. And I hope he still has speakers, because the same way they retain water to protect your gear, they also hold the water in. And if your speaker's doing push pull, push pull, push pull, it's going to pull in some water. No matter how you look at it, it's going to pull in. It detains, refrains the water, but it doesn't mean that the water's not going to go through it. Keep that in mind, guys. Now, the price point, which is the last thing we wanted to discuss. The DAWs that we showed here is at $1,150 to $1,200. That's just for one, 15. The JBL is right around $1,299. $11.99, $12.99, depending on what company you want to purchase them for. We don't promote companies, so I can't tell you which ones have it cheaper. QSEs, I bought these for $1,200 each. Right now they're about $11.99 or $1,099, depending on how you catch them with the sales. But you still can find them right around that price. They haven't fluctuated much at all. This same model's been around at least for 4 years already, if I'm not wrong. And it doesn't, I think next year they're finally bringing out a new model. And the Turbosound, the IQ15s are at $850 to $800. Now, with all the price ranges, yes, Turbosound's the cheapest. Do you guide yourself by cheap or you guide yourself by quality? That's on your call. You know, there is no right or wrong answer. Even though I wasn't a fan of Turbosound, and I'll be the first to admit that, I'm not saying that it's a bad speaker. I'm pretty sure that with the app you can probably make it and adjust it. And for the price, 2,500 watts max, which is about 650 RMS, you really can't go wrong. You really cannot go wrong. You know, you can't go wrong with any of these. A lot of you guys tend to think, oh, I gotta have Yorkies, or I gotta have QSEs, or I gotta have JBLs to be a real DJ. No, you don't. You can get any speaker, make it sound good, and that's the one you're gonna need. Now, up next, in the next video, we have JBL, again, the lower end model. We're gonna have Serwin Vega, we're gonna have Samson, we're gonna have, which is the other one that I'm missing, the other DAWs,
EV.
and the EV. So stay tuned for the next show.